like sometimes what happens is sometimes producers, especially I find that producers that are like classically trained, they kind of use science and math with the production. And one of the things that I appreciate about a dude like RZA, to me, is that RZA, I've heard loops from RZA that's just off. You know, and
perfect,
RZA just worked off a feel like this sounds good. This is the beat thing. And I think sometimes the more you know, you begin to get in your way and of creating. Like, to me, some of the best creations of anything, art just in general, people who are just creating freely. Like I listened to some of Kanye's earlier work versus his newer work. His newer work, I'm like, not so much, but I understand like the genius and the direction he was trying to go with things and taking a risk and stuff like that. And I think like sometimes when you become too rigid as a producer, it lends to less risk, and you become more like mathematically based than like, yo, the consumer gonna hear this or whoever it is gonna hear this. They be like, yo, this is a dope record, So
Turn the
from a consumer standpoint, what you said, Rob?
Turn the quantize off and feel
Yo, from a consumer standpoint, it's like, yeah, that sounds dope. From a producer standpoint, you might be like, yo, nah, the hi-hat sound too high, or nah, that going on, or that, or nah, this is off, or whatever it is. And I think a brilliant mind around music a lot of time will come in and be like, nah, that just sounds good. Go with that kind of thing.
The mixing is I put people in different categories, right? So the mixing is an art form in and of itself. It's an expression of the beat maker. Like it's an expression of what they want to highlight in their beat. Because if you give music to an engineer will mix it. Like they'll over process it, they'll flatten out things, they'll do the frequency thing, but we're not looking for frequency like that. We're looking for
the feel.
Yeah, we're looking for feel, and the same thing like RZA, Dilla, certain producers they play clunky, but it works. I call it like sometimes when you hear a singer that can sing, but they're on the border of not being able to sing. They're like right there, and I think subconsciously you're anticipating a fall off, so you listen to it like it's about to go off, but it never does, so it captivates you. You know what I'm saying? Like like it's suspenseful in a way. So when Dilla's beats are swinging and they're riding the edge of being off, or even RZA is a little off, you're like, damn, that it works. It's still in pocket, but it's not. It's not right on the one. It's not it's not in sync. It's not on the metronome. Like, and then so there's the musicians who play by ear. And then there's the ones that rely on the tech or they play based on clicks, and I kind of, we all kind of start off, I think in the beginning, relying on technology, sequencers and quantizing and making everything feel like rigid. And then, after a while, if you trust yourself, if you trust your creative process and you learn to get loose with it, then all of a sudden, like you find your sound. And even though like it might sound a little off or a little funky, or but that's still you. That's still an expression of you, and that's what makes a project or an artist individual from everybody else.
Yeah, I was just thinking an example of a beat that and I feel like over the years my musical taste has evolved in terms of me being like more free flowing, like, oh, all right, go with that or whatever. Like the first time I heard grinding, I was like, what the hell is this?
That was different.
Because my ears were so in tune to, what's going on with this, that, or whatever. But that was like sort of like my first introduction to, it's a dope record though. Like, why does it need to have all these other elements to it? And, I think that sometimes I see like people get really roped into, you got to have this, you got to have that, or whatever it is, and you even see it with like, I'm sure you probably experience it as a songwriter yourself, like you're like, okay, I know I got 16 bars. I want to have a 4-bar, 8-bar hook or whatever it is. But then you see some people, they be like, no, there ain't going to be no hook in this record. This is what the record is going to be. That's just going to be it or whatever. And I think some artists are comfortable with taking that risk. And I think there are other artists that are so formulaic that they like, nah, mathematically, it doesn't make sense. I want 12-bar here. We need a 8-bar bridge or 4-bar, whatever it is. And that's just how they operate and they work. And I think that sometimes that sort of stifles creativity.
Yeah. In the early days, like, you know, I think that's how it was. That was kind of the formula, you know, like that was the formula that came out of the industry. So it was three verses and then your three hooks. So, you know, your intro and then your three hooks. And it just slowly whittled down to like two, and now it's like one long one, or you know what I'm saying? Like it just like, or like sometimes we don't even do hooks. Like I'll be in another MC, will just blend into each other. And if it works, it works. And also like starting a little bit late, starting a little bit early. Sometimes in the beginning of the track, I'll come in like, you know, early. You know, I'll lead myself in, and then, you know, that last syllable hits on the kick or on the hat. You know, something is in time, but you really don't know exactly what it is unless you really slowed it down and studied it. But it's in time, but it's riding on those on each of those like bounces. You know, that's what I mean about swing. So when I make drums, when I program my drums, I swing it. I don't quantize. I just swing my drums per my natural feel, which is the way I rap too. So when I rap on my own, it's easy, man. Or I can swing all over you know what I'm saying? I could rap all over my beat, like, you know, my drums, because they have my natural swing to them. And I think that's why so many artists got away with rapping on primo beats. Because primo beats were really kind of simple. They were drums and they were these super dope chops, you know?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Maybe one bass line, you know, like, oh, he'd have like a bass note here or there. It wouldn't be these complicated. It wouldn't be overcomplicated. It was like kind of a very different style similar but different than Pete Rock or Dilla, who were a little bit more complicated. But that left so much room for an artist to go bar heavy, you know, like to be complex in what they're saying and what they're doing. And that's really the art. That's another art form, is knowing how to create space for a rapper. I've worked with producers where their music is dope and I love their beats, but I can't rap on them because they're so busy that they drown you out. If you're a lyrical rapper, you need space for what you're going to, for your punches. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's got to be gaps, even in what you're saying. So if I end a bar and I leave a gap so you can listen to it, you don't want all this sound popping out from the beat. You know,
the pad's going crazy.